Start the year. So thank you again for coming. And I think we're going to have a very exciting year for AOI this year. And I'm going to keep this very brief. So, but I do just want to give you a couple of things to think about and to connect what we're doing here at New Year's Day brunch with AOI. And I was told by Bill and Hewlett earlier that this is the 20th, 21st, 20th? Yes, this is the 20th anniversary of AOI's New Year's Day brunch. So I have been under the impression that it was ongoing because it is traditional for AOI to meet on New Year's Day, but it is only the 20th anniversary of us having brunch together. So we are celebrating a lot today, and I think it's a wonderful custom to really be able to see everybody to start off the year, especially since I think many of us, myself included, don't go out quite as late on New Year's Eve. That it's nice to have something for New Year's Day to look forward to. So again, we've talked about AOI brunch as kind of this long-standing tradition. It's also a long-standing DC tradition to have New Year's Day parties or receptions and being at home and open houses. So not only were there politicians who did this, the mayor, the city council, and people who were judges for the city, but also private citizens would also have open houses. And as you can imagine, this was more for the elites than it was for people who actually had to do some of the work on New Year's Day as well. And most importantly for the city was a White House reception. So this is when the public was invited to wait in line and greet the president, and it was specifically seen as a symbol of the Republican nature of our government. As the National Republican newspaper called it, it was a reminder that the government is of the people, by the people, for the people, and it was a very visual symbol of that. AOI members, very shortly after we started, would participate in this. And this is one of my favorite pictures that I've uncovered recently of AOI attending the White House reception in 1926. And they are sadly and very poignantly in front of the East Wing. Yeah, and not only do I love the picture, but in looking at this, you would not want to have to pick somebody out of a police lineup in this group. Because they all look so identical, the dress, the look, and the AOI ribbons that they are wearing as they go to wait in line for this. AOI members were, the reception itself was stratified, and AOI members got to go in with some of the more important and influential people of Washington. So they were greeting the president before the rest of the citizens of Washington. Just to note kind of how important they were to the city. So since AOI was founded in December of 1865, the very first New Year's Day for AOI's existence was January 1st, 1866. So I thought I'd offer a little bit of context as to what was going on at that particular time. So here are a few images from 1866, from around the city. Obviously, we have the Patent Office, which is easily identifiable and still looks pretty much the same. The State Department had recently moved from a building by the Treasury Department, because the Treasury Department was expanding, and moved into what initially was built as the Washington Orphan Asylum, or it was as an orphanage. And they took over for about 10 years before moving into the larger building that we know now as the old executive office building, which became the State Navy and War Building. So it's been about 10 years here at 14th and S. Georgetown was obviously a port city, still a working port city in 1866. Library of Congress was in the Capitol building, so it did not have its own building at that point in time. The Navy Yard shows us that it was built up with armament still, so a vestige of the Civil War, still having built up from the war. And Willard's Hotel, which was in its second incarnation, not the building we know of now, which was turn of the 20th century, but what it looked like during the Civil War. So we'd identify some things going throughout the city, if not completely everything, if we were walking around it. On New Year's Day, 1866, it was a pretty grim weather day. It was gloomy. It had been snowy and rainy, so it was slushy and it was muddy. It was gray, and so it was a little less active than usual because people didn't want to go out and about in that kind of weather. It was President Johnson's first White House reception. And this is the White House just after they had taken down all of the mourning that had been draping the White House from President Lincoln's assassination. So this was the very first public reception after his assassination and the very first public reception for President Johnson in general. And so he used the White House to kind of launch New Year's Day to kind of launch that for him. The papers reported that the interiors were kind of worn down from the last 4 years of not putting any money into keeping them up during those war years. But they still did have bouquets of flowers, camellias, lilies, and on these Japanese lacquered tables all throughout. The Marine Corps band was playing in anterooms as you first came in. There were about 40 of them at that point. And so they were trying to make this festive, even if it was a little bit on the less celebratory side as other New Year's Days had been. It was held, interestingly, from 11 to 2 in the Blue Room. Johnson's daughters helped him host the event because his wife was ill and did not attend. His daughters were dressed one in black velvet for the occasion with gloves, fans, and one in black silk because she was mourning the loss of her husband. She was in half mourning. Again, a reminder of all those who had just perished in the Civil War. So there were reminders everywhere throughout the city about that. Johnson himself wore a black frock. He had a vest on, a black silk vest, and he wore dove-colored gloves, which were not shown here. So gloves were worn as well. At 11 o'clock, again, it's an egalitarian reception, but we're going to have a hierarchical schedule. So people who were the most important got in at 11. The diplomats, the senators, the Supreme Court justices, they were at 11. At 11:30 was the military. 12 o'clock, gates open to everybody, the reception, so people had to line up for 12 o'clock. They came in the front door of the building, and they went out the East Room window. They had put a platform there so they could just funnel people out and to keep the flow going. One man, they reported in the newspapers, came up and still had his hat on, which was remarked on when he was greeting the president. And he said, "I'm sorry, sir, I can't take my hat off. A rebel blew off my left hand." And the president shook his hand anyway. So again, reminders everywhere that we were still just on the cusp of the end of the Civil War. At 2 o'clock, after the event ended, which meant the event for white residents of the city, black residents who were waiting in line could come in for 15 minutes. Everybody who was there, 15 minutes to greet the president. So the doors were open, but again, a reminder of the segregation and culture of the city at that time as well. So it's another reminder for us that New Year's Day was also celebrated as Emancipation Day. So the Emancipation Proclamation had been signed January 1st, 1863. So this is only the third anniversary of the Emancipation Proclamation, and which of course was President Lincoln's proclamation that all enslaved people in the rebel states were considered and called free. So they emancipated anybody who was enslaved in the states that were part of the Confederate government for that. So it's especially just at the end of the war, this is the first Emancipation Day that was being celebrated. African American communities had already held traditional church services on New Year's Eve, but it took a special meaning right before January 1st, 1863. So people gathered in various cities, at churches, at halls, all to have watch parties, a watch night to count down till Emancipation Day at midnight, January 1st. And that tradition continued. So that was also a tradition, still is in Washington today. There are still churches that have watch nights watch services and watch dinners that you can attend in D.C. today. 1866 was also the first Emancipation Day and New Year's Day that the 13th Amendment had been passed into. We're so close to the 13th Amendment that it was ratified December 6th, but those votes still kept going on in the different states. So it was not ratified in Florida until December 28th. So this is still part of the zeitgeist of what is going on in the city and the thoughts. So this was still part of the ongoing discussion of what is going to happen, what is going to change. So AOI, as it was being founded, as it was discussing its history, the city's history, was firmly in Reconstruction, Washington, D.C. Obviously, in D.C., as we all know, we celebrate in D.C. Emancipation Day, April 16th. And we have that, we're still celebrating it now. It's a legal holiday as of 2005 for D.C. This is Washington, April 16th, 1866. So again, the first after the end of the war and the first after the 13th Amendment was passed. So it was a huge celebration. Why April 16th? In D.C., because it was celebrating the D.C. Emancipation Act. So Lincoln had signed into law this act that was freeing any enslaved people within the D.C., I'll say the DMV, basically, is what it was. It was compensated emancipation. D.C. is the only place in the country that had compensated emancipation, where, ironically, yay, you are free, and then you have to go through the indignity of being brought in, deciding what your worth is, and the person who formerly owned you gets that money. So there's that is also poignant as well. But April 16th, 9 months before the Emancipation Proclamation, basically slavery was abolished in Washington, D.C., and this is why we celebrate April 16th here in D.C. Of course, Juneteenth, also a celebration of Emancipation Day around the country, because even though all of these proclamations, all these laws went into effect, it was not until the last people who were enslaved found out that they were formally free, was not until what we celebrate in Texas, which was the last kind of farthest out west that happened, and we still celebrate that today as Juneteenth. So we can celebrate 3 times, January 1st, April 16th, and on Juneteenth, June 19th. We can celebrate 3 times. So 1866, AOI starting into this atmosphere, and also looking to collect our own history. So I think it's especially important as we go into our 160th year to look back, to focus on this, especially at a time when some of this history is trying to be deliberately disappeared. That we remember it, we think about it, and we see ourselves as part of that. There is a new book, relatively new book, written by historian Kate Mazur, which is a graphic piece of nonfiction about Reconstruction in Washington. This was actually commissioned by the National Park Service for her to write. So it was something that you can find on Amazon, and it specifically focuses on the DMV, on Reconstruction in the DMV, especially because most people have kind of a hazy idea of what Reconstruction is, what it was, and how it impacted most communities. So if you want for further reading, please you can find this at the library, and you can find it online as well. So as we're coming up on our 2026 year, a few things that we are focusing on. As I'm speaking of preserving our history, our own history, we are still working under the William Noble Brown Preservation Fund, and I am thrilled to say that we are upwards of $4,000 now in our fund. So thank you to all of you who have donated. That is going a long way towards being able to digitize our records, to go through our records, and to make sure that they are preserved for us and for all time. So thank you for doing that, and we are accepting donations by QR code, online, in person, cash, no cryptocurrency, but anything else that you would like to give us, we are happy to accept that. And part of our preservation also is our podcast. You can now find the AOI podcast on SoundCloud. And Bill Brown has kindly uploaded all of our previous audio tapes of our speakers. So while you are on the treadmill, on the Stairmaster for your New Year's resolutions, you can plug in and you can listen to some of these older talks that we have and kind of revisit or learn for the first time some topics that are related to DC history. We will be expanding that. So we will be looking to do interviews with all of you to possibly put online. And also to get little snippets as we go into 2026, which is the 250th anniversary of our country that we're, I'll put it in quotes, celebrating in various ways. Commemorating, I think, is probably a better word for that. But I'd love to talk to anybody who has memories about the bicentennial and what you remember about that time period, even just a little 10-minute interview. We're also coming up on an anniversary for 9/11. So anybody who has memories of being in DC and what was going on at 9/11 for you, I'd love to collect those memories as well. And we will put them together and put them on our podcast. So we will be growing our podcast. As of February, as of next month, we will have a scanner available at our lunches. If you would like to bring in pictures, documents, slides that you have, either for your own family that relate to Washington, anything that you would like to scan in, we would like to help you preserve your own records. And to make sure that those are available for your family and for DC history for all of time. So we will help you scan that and we'll help you figure that out. Look for an email for more information about how to do that and what to do. On that note, if you do not get an annoying number of emails from me on a regular basis, that means that I don't have your correct email address. And or something happened with the email system. So please let me know so that I can annoy you and remind you regularly. As I think with so much noise and traffic and that's going on these days, I know I need a lot of reminders as to what's coming up. So I want to make sure you get those as well. Of course, we have our regular lunch programming. In February, we are going to have two of our own board members, Sisters Pat Tyson and Teresa Saxon, who will be talking about the Military Road School. This was a school that was founded to educate Black residents or formerly enslaved Black residents of Washington who were coming here towards the end of the Civil War. And they will be talking about its preservation and the alumni group and what it meant to the community over the course of all of those years, almost 100 years, I believe, right? At least 100 years that it was in existence. I was here, so we'll be hearing about that in February. A few things to be on the lookout in case you're interested in more history. Speaking of the Emancipation Proclamation, it is planning to go on permanent display at the archives very shortly. So it's usually just brought out for very short periods of time. But that will be on display that you'll be able to get there. The Two Georges exhibit that is at the Library of Congress has been extended through July. If you haven't gotten a chance to see that one, excellent and also free. And the National Geographic Museum that was scheduled to open in January is not going to open until July, but it's something for us to look forward to as well. That's going to be at their own headquarters location, but it's going to be a new museum if you haven't seen that. So lastly, to join us, many of you have renewed. Thank you if you have renewed. If you haven't, we try to make that as easily as possible as well. You can do it online. You can do it in person, and you can certainly give us a call or an email if you have any trouble with that. We're happy to help you with it. We've kept ourselves to the low price of $25 for renewing, so we are still a bargain. So we consider us, which I love, this is Tim Hanapol, so I don't want to steal this. We are the Costco hot dog of historical societies. We are the keeping the price the same no matter what happens, because we want you to be part of what we are doing. This obviously is a picture from November, from our 160th anniversary. If you renew, you will be getting an email that says thank you, as well as a copy of this picture, so you can see yourself in there as well. I think it ended up being a great photo. We have photos from the lunch on our website, on our Instagram page. We are we are just right there with all the social media. You know, we may be 160 years old, but we're tech savvy as much as we can. Podcasts, social media, check us out on there, and you'll see some more pictures as well. And please, we are here also for all of your interest as well. If there are things that you're interested in, things that you want to see, issues, problems, suggestions, come find me. Come email AOI, come find me. I'm happy to give you my phone number, my email. And as much as I bother you with emails, you can bother me with those same emails coming back. I'm happy to have them. So welcome. I think Nelson actually has some trivia for us today. So I'm going to pass that along to him. And thank you. Again, have a happy, healthy, very safe start to your new year. The flu is running rampant. Be careful out there. Be safe.
Okay, well, it's the time of the year we make resolutions. I don't know how many of you made resolutions. I've made one that this spring, maybe as early as our meeting in February, that we honor Eleanor Holmes Norton. This is beginning her 34th year of service as a delegate to the District of Columbia. She's a native Washingtonian. Her family has been here for generations. So I think she's not a member, I guess. We should induct her in. How do we do that? Well, we'll look into that. And so how many are here for the first time? Quite a few. Okay. Well, I'd like them to have the first guesses on the trivia question, or the historic nugget of knowledge question, as I put it. The question is, how many generations has her family, Eleanor Holmes Norton's family, been here in Washington, D.C., the District of Columbia? It's more than 2, less than 6. No, we'll give you a little. Back there. How many? 5. No, that's close. Maybe we'll give it to you. Any other guesses?
Right here. Over here.
Where?
Right here. Over there.
Okay. You got it. 4 generations of the Holmes family, yes. And as some of you may know, I've run for this office 3 times, when Eleanor was up. I ran as a Republican. I might be on the ballot again this year. We'll see. That takes some work. But we've had a very good relationship. And if any of you haven't read this book about her life, Fire in My Soul, Eleanor Holmes Norton, it's quite a piece of work about her family, when they came here, what they've contributed to the city over generations, and it's quite a piece of work. The author interviewed her about 20 times and interviewed over 50 people who've been associated with her and her family over the years. And from those interviews, wrote this book. And so I really think we should do that. I think it's important. So I'm resolving that the AOI honor in the spring, maybe as early as February meeting, Eleanor Holmes Norton. So resolved. Do I have a second? Second. All in favor? Aye. Carried.